So I have some questions about a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and maybe Joe has something I haven't heard yet. We all agree that if we see a circling sun, it doesn't dictate the shape of the Earth. I don't personally, like if I had to bet right now, I don't think there is a circling sun in Antarctica. I think if they see something, I think it's going to be faked. Now, Jaron and I completely disagree. He doesn't think they could fake a sun. I think they could. I'm okay. Disagree. That's fine. That's okay. But even if they saw a circling sun, it just tells us we don't understand the sky. I know I've said that before. So do you have any newer theories on how we could see a circling sun? Could it be a cycle, like it wasn't ready last year or the year before? Maybe it's a cycle that happens every decade or something or longer, and they've waited till this time to do it?
Personally, for me, if I had to bet right now, I would bet 100% that we do see a 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
Would that be every year?
Yeah, every year.
So how come nobody's ever filmed it before?
Yeah.
Well, one, the amount of people that get to go that far south is very, very slim. So, like, yeah, you get a lot of tours that go like cruises, but those cruises go right off the tip of South America, and they never really go past the Antarctic Circle. They stay right there at that little tip of Antarctica that comes out, and they look at penguins and whales and drink.
I get that.
Drink drinks with sea ice in it and stuff like that. But I mean, so if you're not beyond that point of the Antarctic Circle, then you're not going to see it because you're not far enough south. But yeah, it absolutely does happen. That it will happen. If I had to bet everything that I own right now, I would bet on it.
Interesting. I mean, we look at the fact that there hasn't been any footage. There's been faked footage. Right. And then all of the webcams, they cut out 10 hours at the critical 10 hours, So to me, that says there has to be like this incredible, like, let's set these flat earthers up for a decade. We'll cut 10 hours out of the videos. We'll do this. I mean, if there was a 24-hour sun, I think we would have, there'd be evidence of it. I know you could say, hey, there's quiet time. There's people, they're not there looking. But, you go to the north and there's people, look, it's midnight. Look at the sun, We don't see that in the South. And, there was one guy, he called up all these different cruise lines and everything. And in the north, 24-hour sun, midnight sun. And in the South, nobody would say there's a midnight sun. So just with that, that's a lot of, hearsay, evidence, whatever you want to call it. I don't think and it's okay. You think there is? You could be right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ruling it out. If I had to bet, I'd bet against you. Maybe you want to go $5? Want to go $5? You give me odds.
I love
it. Maybe the people didn't look into it that much right? All the videos shown by the people are trying to examine the 24 hours, and there are very few. But there are people who are sharing videos about Antarctica and midnight sun, and maybe they're not sharing the time lapse. Like, for example, when me and Psychedelic spoke, he also sent me a link, and we were checking it out too. There are guys who are literally showing videos of midnight sun. They're not maybe showing a time lapse.
The only ones I've seen are by that guy that works down there. What's his name? When you guys remember, there's one guy that filmed it a dozen times.
There are a few guys.
Anthony Powell, right? Anthony Powell.
But there are more guys. The thing is, there are also the Antarctica, from the Australian part of Antarctica. They also have many videos showing 24-hour sun with the shadows. Like, I don't know if people looked into it, right?
There's one where there's like these green buildings and you see the sun go all the way around. It came out a couple of years ago. Is that the one you're talking about? You see the shadows go all the way around.
There's a guy right now
that looks super fake.
It looks like a little complex.
Yeah, that place.
Yeah, I think
that one's weird, and they all these videos show up right at the weirdest times. They look like damage control to me.
What What do you guys think about, if anything, Candace Owens getting in on this now?
Yeah, that's real interesting, man. Isn't she sending her
her producer? Yeah. Her producer's going down, which is interesting.
She's so interested in flat Earth. All of a sudden, she's like, "Yeah, check this out. Bring back some news for us."
The thing that I think is the most interesting about the whole thing is, I believe 100% that we do see it. I believe there's been lots of everyday people that say, "Yeah, I was down there for a year or two and I saw it," and stuff like that. I mean, whether they're lying or not, who knows? But put all of that aside. Like, if we just look at it from this standpoint, the lights in the ceiling don't determine the floor beneath our feet. We can measure the floor. The floor is measuring as level. Water proves to be level. Yep. One rotation of the lights, they're all moving west. Well, most of them are moving west. There's a little bit of leeway there. But anyway, so regardless of whether it's happening, globe proponents, the only thing they ever do is say, look up. Every evidence they try to give as hard evidence, for the most part, is look up. Let's look up. That makes no sense on any level at all to measure the floor. I mean, like Dave McKeegan, I just recently debunked his airplane thing where he's like, he said my best simple observation to prove we live on a globe is because we see sunlight on the bottoms of airplanes during sunsets.
You did a good job on that one.
Yeah, during sunsets and sunrises. I mean, it's just the lack of intellectual honesty with these people is ridiculous, and the inept scientific ability to critically think through these things is ridiculous. It's just sad. I mean, looking up is not a way to determine the floor beneath our feet, period.
Absolutely. We also have to see the sky, because a real model should include the sky. Not I'm speaking about dark matter and all these black hole these people want to speak about. We are speaking about just the luminaries and the tropical and the sidereal cycles. Right? It should be included in a way because in reality, just a land with continents could be any shape. We know it's flat, but the people are so much onto maps, right? A shape of a continent is not going to make a difference. It's still flat land, right? So before we continue, I just want to know a short opinion, Psychedelic, your opinion, not going in detail, about the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And then, because I have things to show, even your stuff. So go ahead, brother.
Yeah, because I remember Dave said a while back, I remember I was watching one of his streams and he said, looking up at the sun, honestly, I don't think that would really confirm 100%, what's going on. I think it would just clarify to us that we don't really know how the sky works, just like how Dave said. And if we could actually fly and circumnavigate around the actual wall, that would be the best way to actually confirm that for us. And, the globe proponents are always saying, there's a 24-hour sun. That's absolutely going to prove that we live on a spherical ball. And, I've just been looking at all of those videos that I was sending back and forth to you, and it just doesn't seem right. Like, I'm looking and I'm like staring at the sun from all these videos, and I'm looking at the shadows, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to confirm that we live on a ball just from looking at the sun. It's I don't think that's the right way to do it.
Fake, or there could be a phenomena happening.
Yeah.
No, what do you think? It's like this video are fake, or there could be a possibility of 24-hour sun there?
Oh, looking at the videos, it's hard because I don't know the person, I'm just going off of these guys who we find on social media, and they're down in Antarctica working, and so I'm just basing my observations off of what I see. And honestly, I think to be able to confirm, I would think that we would need to go down there for longer than a week. I think that if somebody could actually live down there for a year and actually stare at the sun longer than a week, I think that's how long Whitsitt and them are actually going to stay there, is for a week, right?
Yeah.
we also need to compare the equal latitude in the north to see, if it matches 6 months apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not enough time, and I agree. Looking at the lights in the sea does not determine the floor beneath your feet. And like I asked Duffy when I had that conversation with him, I said, if we live inside of an enclosure where some sort of dome structure is above us, then are there not a lot of variables that we don't know that could account for a 24-hour sun? And he said, yeah, I can grant you. So he admitted that his final experiment isn't final at all.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, do you not to put you on the spot, but do you have you come up with a model that would show the sun circling in the proper direction in the south, or if you haven't, that doesn't mean it's not true. Just have you come up with something that works?
Yeah, I've got 3 different ways that it works. I'm working on doing a video of all 3 and breaking it down properly. The videos I did before, I was in the midst of trying to figure it out. So I'm
looking forward to that. Make sure you ping me on that if you remember.
Yeah, I mean, one of them is using what I believe is a fact. I believe there's a superfluid ceiling. I believe there's layers, and there's a superfluid ceiling that begins to start somewhere around 74, 75 miles high. It doesn't mean it starts there, but there's a transition zone of gases somewhere in that range, and then there starts this superfluid layer. And I believe all of the luminaries are in that superfluid, which makes sense in how light is created and things like that. But if I model it with a mimic superfluid ceiling, then I can get, not only can I get that counterclockwise, what appears to be counterclockwise, but what we have to remember is what Keith says. There's one motion. It's west. So when you're in the south and you see this counterclockwise sun, it's still moving west. When we're in the north, it's moving west. There's one motion. It's just an apparent change of motion. So we have the Arctic and the anti-Arctic. So we have an arc and anti-arc, and that's all it is. But yeah, I mean, if I put my superfluid ceiling in, which I've already done once, it gives me that perfect counterclockwise rotation in the southern part of the realm, no matter where I'm at, no matter where I position the camera. And I'm working to get like 6 different cameras, because right now it looks like it's happening in 6 different zones simultaneously. The position of that 24-hour sun changes based on the time zone, if that makes sense, which would also be the same for spherical Earth if that were the case. But it does work in the flat Earth model under. Right now, I have 3 different assumptions that I can get it to work under.
Looking forward to seeing that. What are your thoughts on their ability to fake a sun convincingly?
I don't think they can at all. I'm with Jaron on that. I don't think any man can fake our sun.
First you're limiting it to man, right? We don't know what's out there. just throwing it out there, right? I mean, there could be fallen angels down there, giants. Who knows? And when you're down there, if we live under a dome and you're looking south, you're literally looking at the side of a planetarium, like you're staring at the wall of a planetarium. So you have the dome right there. So if they were able to project something halfway around, that would be a great place to do it.
Yeah, but see, this is where the problem with faking it comes. There has to be a moment where the
transition.
The real sun goes away and the fake sun.
So here's my prediction, if the trip even happens, is that it's cloudy during the day, and then the clouds will clear up in the evening, and they'll be like, yeah, we already know there's a day sun, and then they'll say the midnight sun is what matters, right? So if it's cloudy during the day, during that transition period, and then it kind of clears up and we see a nice clear midnight sun, that solves the transition problem. Now, again, maybe they're not. I've said this before, I just got to say it again. The flat Earth hiding the flat earth and the globe lie is the most important secret the elite have to keep us under control. Because everybody wakes up to flat earth, all governments in the world collapse instantaneously. All right. So they're not sitting there twiddling their thumbs going, oh man, that Will Duffy's bringing some flat earthers down here. You know, we're screwed now. They're not. This is a planned attack.
And they're very sure, Dave, they're really sure. The confidence these people are having is like, they're not going to let the flat earth win in this, because it's so much of damage for them, right? And it's not just because of that, because I believe that we all flat earthers didn't really look into it that deep, because it was just one of many other flat earth proofs, right? How could Joe come up with something like this? And there are more people who are explaining this with real science, right? That's what we shared some of the videos in our last episode of this, of 24-Hour Sun, of different from Australian place, like scientific research from Antarctica, right? And there are other videos. So let's see what we can see from here, from these couple of videos, right? Give me just a second.
Hey, let me just interrupt real quick, Vika.
You
guys were talking. I'll go. All right. As you guys were talking, I'm literally sitting here watching a rocket launch from the Cape. And this one was a little different because it went up, over, and down to the north. But it literally made the same trajectory as a rainbow that you see almost every day. Clearly up, over, and down, and not that high, not that far away. But it's interesting to sit here and watch that while I'm on a podcast with you guys.
Yeah, those are watch.
Those are hysterical, man.
Cool. So,
sorry to interrupt. Go for it.
No worries.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, you can record that, and we can watch it as a video and laugh more. Yeah, for sure. All right, here it's saying it's 10 p.m. in Antarctica, and this is what it looks like today.
Now, where is that?
Is this at the South Pole station? The Roletta Munson station?
Yeah, this is the South Pole. This is the guy who is on TikTok also.
They always have such nice blue skies there.
Yeah, it's always so clear when it's not cloudy, you know?
Yeah.
It's either really cloudy or it's really clear.
Yeah. Tell me anytime to stop if you want to discuss anybody. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
It says it's 6 degrees warm for this time of the year. That's right.
So wait, stop. This is at the actual geographical South Pole, right?
It's one of the station. I don't know if it's Murdoch or which one is.
So here's my question. I thought planes don't fly over the South Pole.
Oh no, these guys are literally traveling, getting stuff, living there for a year straight on. They have winter videos.
I'm just looking
at that videos.
I'm looking at that chemtrail, and there's air traffic over to the South Pole.
It's going to be cloudy in a few hours.
I don't think that far south. I think this is closer to the ice wall itself.
It's on the coastline, sort of, right?
I saw this on Facebook. A friend of mine posted it, and he showed what base he's at, and I'm pretty sure it's not
the South Pole.
No, I don't.
Lowry's in the chat. He says this. Lowry's in the chat. He says this guy posts this stuff all the time. He follows him. Maybe you could put
a link to his. A lot of flat earthers follow him, right? It's many different videos. They also have one from the South Pole that are different. I don't know if it's how far is from this station, but they do have videos also, the so-called geographic South Pole, right?
Now I know that like one of the main station that's supposedly on the globe is the Scotta Munson station, which is supposedly like in the center of the continent. And then you have the Palmer station, which is at the Antarctic Peninsula, that little peninsula. And then below you have the McMurdo station. So those are like three of the main stations that I think we probably see footage that these guys are doing footage from.
Right. And this is 10 p.m. at night, right?
This is midnight, the midnight sun for them. Yeah.
No, this right now. This was taken at midnight. You're saying?
This is supposed to be 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I just want to know what flight is flying over Antarctica at 10 p.m. How do we know? How do we know this is not 10 a.m.?
Right.
No, you can check directly on, I think on Instagram also you can find, just look everyday Antarctica. There's loads of videos, and with the planes and everything getting supplies and going and coming, right? There's a lot of stuff. I don't know if it's all bullshit, but yeah, we are trying to see what's happening. What all there.
This particular video, right before he walked out, he has his phone in his hand showing the time and date. In the original stall, and then walks out the door. It's funny though, it looks like he taps the back side of his hand on the door before he opens it, like he's got some sort of chip in his hand.
So Joe, I mean, it's so easy to fake that. I can take a screenshot right now, and then at midnight, I could run out the door and show you the screenshot on my phone. I mean, they love faking us with amateur videos when people are like, look at this amateur, watch the rocket launch. And literally they're like a half a mile away from the rocket. And you know that nobody is a half a mile away from the rocket. So it's stuff like this isn't evidence of anything. This could be, in Greenland for all we know.
Oh, I agree.
You got air traffic. It could be during the day.
I don't trust any picture or video unless I took it myself.
Right. But I mean, you just pointed out that he showed his phone. He purposely showed his phone to make people believe. I mean, it's so easy to fake stuff like this.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that as evidence. I was just saying the original that I saw before he walks out. He's got his phone showing the time and date, and then he walks right out and looks and says, "Look, there's the midnight sun." That's all. I'm not saying.
Right, and I'm gonna. You inspired me. I'm gonna make a midnight sun video in Connecticut tomorrow. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be just like this one. It's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna show you that it's 20 below zero also when I'm out there.
Right.
Let's see.
It'll be funny. Thank you. Good idea.
Okay, let's watch this again.
Oh, is he chipped in his hand? That's interesting.
Yeah.
See, that doesn't look like the Amundsen station. That looks like it might be closer toward the coast.
Is this another video?
No, it's the same.
No, it's the same video, the same place.
Why is the sky so white?
It's different. Let's see what he says. A couple of minutes. Just let's see.
Yeah.
It's midnight here in Antarctica, and this is what it looks like outside.
I don't see his breath.
We've got 24 hours of sun at the
moment. Good point.
It is summer here, so
the sun he's got he should be freezing.
As bright or as dark as it's getting throughout the day.
I'm not showing the sun.
That's why. Listen to what he says. Yeah. Go ahead.
He showed the sun, and then he just went to a different picture. Just started filming himself. It looks totally different.
Look at that vanilla sky too.
Yeah.
He says that it's the maximum dark or light in the day it can happen. That's what he's saying. Just see. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean it's still perfectly easy to see.
No breath
or anything like that going on, but this is what midnight in Antarctica looks like. It's midday in Antarctica. And
now look how bright it's
12 o'clock.
The sky's more bluer.
And
I'm looking at the reflection in the phone.
Wait, hold on. It's midday, and now he's dressed warmer.
And still
he's dressed like it's colder out.
Different clothes, extra jacket.
Yeah.
Let's watch it one more time. Start it again.
Sure.
And no breath. That's a good point. Like at 40 degrees, you should see his breath.
Sure.
All right. The player I'm playing here on, it's so small that I cannot just go upside at exact point. So I'll play again all these things. One thing we have to also keep an eye on, and this part is he explained right now he's at midday. and he's going to show exactly where the sun is on midday and where exactly the sun is going to be at midnight, right? So keep an eye on this one. We'll play again from start.
Has been
You guys read what he said? Our next sunset is going to be in February. Because if you guys go onto his page and on Antarctica, Everyday Antarctica, it says clearly that the sun rises in September, end of September, and doesn't set till February, right? So,
Yeah,
okay,
like
let's go.
February or April. Apparently, it rises on the equinox and it sets on the equinox. Apparently.
Yeah, I believe that's what they're claiming. Yeah.
Yeah. September 21st, around mid-September is when it rises, and then March the next year is when it supposedly sets.
Exactly. That's what they're claiming. Here it says in this caption.
It said it's minus 6 degrees. He would have a thick fog coming out of his mouth.
And can your hands and your face withstand that kind of temperature for how long?
Minus 6 Celsius. You could stand it for a couple minutes.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Yeah,
very little, right?
But where's his breath? You can't take a single breath without fog coming out.
Okay, yeah, that's the bigger problem.
It's nearly midnight here in Antarctica.
The sky is completely different.
It's midnight here.
Totally
in Antarctica.
different.
Maybe it's cloudy. Maybe
This
it's
is what it
cloudy.
looks like outside.
Yeah, but that from 2 hours ago? Boy, must be a lot of air
24 hours of
traffic,
sun at the
man. A
moment.
lot of air traffic.
I
Yeah,
mean,
this is supposed to be
even at the ground level, there's like a fog and a haze that wasn't there before.
Yeah, it's just not as clear.
It is summer here, so the sun doesn't set. This is as bright or as dark as it's getting throughout the day. And yeah, I mean, it's still perfectly easy to see. Don't need any lights or anything like that going on.
Can anybody
in Antarctica looks like?
Can anybody show me an example of somebody speaking in any brightness or darkness at 6 degrees, negative 6 Celsius, where there's not fog coming out of every breath? Does that ever happen?
Not that I've ever seen.
Like any one of his breaths, you don't see any.
Zero.
Well, then it would start
Zero.
Then it would start to freeze to his mustache and everything like you'd think it would.
Yeah.
Any moisture would grab a hold of you and freeze.
It's midday.
And if this, yeah,
and there you go, 12 o'clock.
we don't see anything on his phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the reflection too.
Has been over in that direction, but because it's midday now, the sun is over there behind me.
So you guys heard what he said, right? Right now it's midday, the sun is behind him, and at midnight he's claiming the sun is opposite him. 12 hours difference. The sun have to be present to see in front of him. I don't think it's going to set and, right? Let's continue.
Exactly the opposite place in the sky where it normally would be. I've had a bunch of people ask me to show the sun at midday, so here it is. Normally it's over there at midnight or later on in the evening, but because it's midday, it's over here.
So
that was Iron Horse. Anybody can check him out on YouTube. Yeah.
What he's talking about is I've shown that. Like, I've shown these 6 zones where you're getting this anti-rotation. So like for our star trails here in the north, we have a counterclockwise rotation. But when you're that far south, they appear to go clockwise in those zones. And yes, everybody is seeing the same thing basically simultaneously if they're in the dark zone. So what he's saying is not wrong, and I've done several posts on this. And if you lay the, that kind of magnetic field out under a ferrocell, and then you draw that Star of David pattern, it actually fits right in, and you have these 6 zones around the edge where you get anti-rotations, and it's just showing you a different perspective of the singular rotation at the center, if that makes sense.
Hey, Joe, I've been thinking that if there is a circling sun, it would only be seen very close to the solstice, maybe a week or two on either side at the most. Do you agree with that as a likely possibility if there is an optical circling sun?
Yeah, I mean that's like I forgot what Psychedelic's name. I'll just call him Psychedelic.
That's cool.
He said the same thing basically,
right.
If we need more time, and not only do we need more time, we need to be in several locations for an extended period of time,
right,
with the document this stuff.
What does the globe say about where they're going to be? The circling sun should be up for 4 months, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's inside from 80 degrees all the way to 90 degrees. 90 degrees, it's there for 6 months, so they say.
Right.
80, I believe they say it's 4 months, and then it regresses the further out you go towards the Antarctic.
So what about getting some other people, funding some other people to go in February or January, late January,
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have like 4 teams or 6 teams in 6 different locations for extended periods of time.
Really?
To document it at different latitudes. And I think that would give us a really good idea of what's going on. But regardless, even if, let's say we sent 6 teams down in those 6 different zones and they all witnessed the 24-hour sun relative to their time zone, that still doesn't prove that the floor is curved.
That's true.
And the floor measures level.
But if they don't.
Yeah, if they don't, then that's just more information for us. And we say, okay, then
we still got to figure it out after that, right?
Yeah, we still don't really know exactly how the sky's working because we can't get up there and measure these things and get close enough to figure it out. So
right, we don't know how the sky's working. Will even admits an optical sky with a dome has many possibilities. However, if we don't see what's expected by the globe is disproven by what we see in the sky.
Yeah, I mean,
that's where it goes back to they're not going to let that happen somehow. I don't think they're going to let that happen because it would destroy so much of their nonsense.
Right.
So they can't. So really, I think the question is how they're going to do this. What's really going on? I like that though. Six teams in 6 places is great, but I like Dave what Dave was saying last time too. If you get 2 planes and just go around the opposite way, that's kind of simple. Maybe a little cheaper too.
Well, 2 planes going the opposite way. You have to go from Santiago, land in Antarctica. All right, we all agree we're here. Then you follow the coast rather than go over the center because, I mean, going over the center would work, but following the coastline, you can't say anything. And also, it would have to be light the whole time, right? Because if you go, it would have to be daylight the whole time. So you follow the coast, and it would take 10 hours for the planes to meet on the other side. But if they met there, that doesn't mean it's a globe because you then have to go from there to Australia in a short period of time. We'll say 6 hours or less. If the Earth is flat, it would be like 70 hours to Australia. So there's a wide margin because just meeting on the other side of Antarctica, could mean that there's a continent off of South America that they're calling Antarctica on a flat Earth, right? There could be another continent off of Australia too.
There's a movie, Dave. There's a clip going around where, I can't remember the movie, man. I wish I could, but that there's two kids in a classroom and one is spinning a globe real fast, and when you stop it, you see Australia, and there's another continent, right?
I remember it. Yes. Yeah.
The movie Dazed and Confused.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe you.
Yeah, when they're can you give me a full screen for a second, Pika? Yeah.
All right.
That should be good. You guys can kind of see this, right?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So this is the cardinal directions inside the model. If I'm looking directly down at the Antarctic ice wall. So this right here is south, this is west, this is east, and this is north. So this is the hot spot of the sun on the floor. And watch how it moves as I move the source sun around Capricorn. So the source sun is going around Capricorn.
In the opposite direction.
Yeah, and the hot spot is going what appears to be counterclockwise around the floor. So this is just one way of showing. And this is happening in 6 different zones. So what we have to think of is, all right, so if we're inside of a crystalline dome of some sort, it doesn't even really have to be crystalline, because the atmosphere is super reflective due to the amount of water in the atmosphere just by itself. So you have this super reflective dome. You have basically 70+% of a surface that is a mirror, because water is basically a mirror. So you have a mirror inside of a mirror, and you get these anti-rotations off of that. That's one explanation. That's just one way of explaining it. But you can clearly see that the sun is moving counterclockwise. This would be looking down at the Antarctic ice wall while the sun's moving around Capricorn. And you see that
the Antarctic ice wall would be right where below the north.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
South is.
Right. Yeah.
It would be right there where the sun is right now.
Actually, the wall is right about here. Yeah. So, but this south, north.
Okay.
So basically, you would just consider this is basically Antarctica. And again, I'm working with an acrylic dome. It's not like I've got this 100% accurate to what's really out there. It's just a conceptualized way of showing that this is possible. And not only is it possible, this is happening in 6 different locations simultaneously. The only thing that changes is the position of the sun relative to the time zone that the viewer is in.
Now, remember when you showed it before, it was going in the opposite direction? What are you doing differently now?
Well, one, I was just explaining it wrong. It was the biggest thing, and I wasn't showing it from the right angles with the right camera angles and that kind of stuff. But like I said, this is one way of showing it. I have 2 others that I can show it that I don't have in my computer, but let me show you this. As far as this taught me how to show star trails as well. And the star trails do the same thing. They give you this, these zones. Here we go. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can blow it up some.
I see it.
So that's from the north. And then if I go over, this is looking to the south. And that's happening in 6 different zones. And then if I go to the equator, you see these straight lines through the equator, and you have your southern and your northern trails. So when all the Globers say, well, show me star trails, there you go. In my model with long exposure photography, getting almost identical results to what we see in real life. So the evidence for there being some sort of dome structure causing these optical phenomena is overwhelming. I can demonstrate moon phases with it. I can demonstrate comets, asteroids with it, nebulas, galaxies, northern lights, rainbows, everything. I can demonstrate all of it, assuming not only a celestial dome, but a superfluid layer as well, and get it in quite accurate detail. Not only that, I can explain lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, all of it. Like it's all explainable and scientific within a level enclosed model that has some sort of dome structure at closure.
You're converting me. Now I'm leaning towards maybe we will see something like that. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. Trying to put a polished video together on that.
Yeah, I'm working on it. And then like you can see this here. They tell us that we don't have a good explanation of redshift and blue shift. Well, I'm showing you redshift and blue shift right here. You can see very blue, and then over here on the other side, very red. So redshift and blue shift fits our model, and this is a dome with a fluid layer. The light's passing through that, you get blue and redshift.
What exactly are we looking at there?
So we're down into the dome, and I've put water and filled the bottom of, which would be the top of the dome. I filled it with water to mimic a superfluid layer. And then I added a little bit of milk to create Rayleigh scattering, which we know Rayleigh scattering is a thing. And then you're able to produce blue shift and red shift just by doing that. So we do good explanation for red shift. Not only that, our superfluid layer gives us the explanation for equipotential lines of horizontal lines of equipotential voltage, because to have that, you have to have two Gaussian surfaces. The floor beneath our feet is one level Gaussian surface. The superfluid layer would be the next level Gaussian surface. So, I mean, our model can account for everything if we just put all the pieces together. And it's actually quite simple once you spend the time to do it. Now, what I'll say is it's taken me nearly 5 years of not only going out with telescopes, taking flights with cameras during lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, moon and the sun, writing it down on different calendar sheets myself, going up on mountaintops, oceans, time lapses, lasers, prisms, mirrors, domes, all of that stuff to figure this out. But basically, we have a working model. We don't have one where we can flip a switch and say, okay, this is everything happening at once. We have to set it up one demo, one thing at a time, and break it down. So I'm working on doing all that, but you know, I run my own business and do a lot of other stuff, so I don't have as much time as I would like to, or resources as I would like to be able to put out the kind of content that I would like to.
Oh, Joe, it looks like you've done a ton in the last 6 months, bro. So thank you for all the work you've been doing. Thank you very much.
Very interesting, bro.
And like, I'm even kind of broken down the anatomy of our sun within that setup here. I mean, there's so much. I mean, we could go on. But another guy I want to give a shout out to is Steven Alonso. He's created probably the most accurate flat model app right now. It's called the Firmament Trackers app. It shows how the luminaries move, how the sun moves, how the moon moves. It shows how the 24-hour sun works, how planets are moving. Like, it shows everything.
Yeah, I was with him, Joe. When he launched, he did his launch stream about a week ago. I was there with him on his YouTube stream. It's actually it's looking really good, really nice.
Yeah, it's super impressive. I'm waiting on the iOS version, because right now it's just on Droid.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. He's got me doing testing. I've been testing that out. He gave me a website version.
Yeah,
so, it's looking nice, Dave. It's looking.
Have you shown this to Austin?
I don't know if he's seen it yet or not.
Fascinating.
So, yeah, I mean, everything can be explained, and I agree with what Vika says. If we're going to produce a model, we have to include the luminaries. The cool thing is the luminaries actually evidence our side of the story, not the globe side of the story. Just star rotations alone, the fact that they're on these perfect repeating patterns, moving in one motion, that's impossible on what they
forever.
Gene, you were muted when you were talking.
The luminaries haven't changed in forever.
Oh, there you go.
Well, they're not. They've changed.
They were different 2,000 years ago, Gene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. And they're going to be different in 2,000 years from now.
That's right. That's right.
And the North Pole used to be something different.
Yeah, I wish we had rock solid evidence that Polaris doesn't move. Oh, we did, but they blew it up.
Well,
yeah,
right.
It does move slightly.
It makes a little circle.
A tiny little circle. So what, right?
Have you seen in Coral Castle the Polaris site? Yeah, the cross where it has the seasons. It makes a circle through the seasons. Wow.
At Coral Castle?
Yeah.
Oh,
crazy.
Really?
Yes.
See, I think that's Polaris rotating around our central vortex of our toroidal field. So closest to that central vortex, that's why you see that tiny little circular motion, because it's traveling really tightly around that central vortex of the toroidal field.
Sure. Why not? That doesn't really change anything. That it's not perfectly.
It actually evidences our side better.
Right. Now, any cycles really do though, and from our model to any of their models, can't have cycles in their models.
Yeah, and like even and they'll say things like, "Let's show me the moon phases." Well, this is one of my pictures on my P950 of waxing crescent moon, and then this is a recreation of that within my modeling. So you can clearly, and I'm using a concave moon with craters that I created myself. I believe the moon's concave. I don't believe it's a sphere.
You think it's a physical object?
No, I believe it's a light source.
Okay.
But these are all my recreations of moon phase.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Using a concave moon that I made by hand. I made several different kinds.
Wow.
But another one. So
cool.
Very nice.
And like the two sun phenomenon, you can see here, I'd set up a level trellis net cloud layer, shot the laser above the cloud layer. The trellis actually kind of represents the haze layer that's always present, and it gives you a double sun. I mean, everything can be explained quite simply. Like if we just, the cool thing is there's people taking the time to figure this stuff out now versus where we have been in the past. And the more we figure out, the more evidence we get, the clearer the picture becomes and the easier it becomes to defend our stance.
Yeah, the less they're going to have to throw in our faces too, and get us those like aha moments. Then they're going to run out completely sooner or later.
Yeah, and like that, they still stick on this. Well, show us a sunset. Well, this is one where I set up a laser level above this top trellis. So this top trellis is level, the laser's above it, the bottom trellis is level. And then all I did was I have the laser on this wall, and I roll that wall back 100 feet. That's about 50 feet. That's 100 feet. And you see the sun appears to be going down when it's staying level above that top trellis the whole time. So, I mean.
Yeah, so the light source is is fixed, and as the wall moves away, it decreases in elevation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And what's even cool about that is if you look here, like once I got it below the horizon, it looks like in front of the trellis net. So when people say, oh, the sun looks like it's in the clouds, it looks like it's in front of the trellis net. That's 100 feet away from the trellis net and above it. It's optical.
You did that?
Yeah. I've got the video somewhere. I've posted it many times. It's on my YouTube channel as well.
I'm pretty sure I saw that. I didn't know that was you. Can you send me that like during the week sometime when you get a chance, Joe?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Hey guys, you hear me again now? I was having issues with the audio.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. So this is the thing, guys. The best part is what Joe was saying before, right? I think everything is possible in this amazing optical sky, right? It's this optical sacred geometry has the possibility to do more than we all can understand or grasp, right? That's why I think we have to be open that there might be possibilities, because there are many ways. Because also I wanted to have views from Psychedelic about the video we saw about the diamond. Before we continue, I just want to say to the people in the chat, the lovely people in the chat, if you're first time here, do hit that like and subscribe button. And yeah, go ahead, Psychedelic brother. Could you your opinion about the video we saw?
The guy when the guy was explaining the diamond?
Yeah.
I remember making a video not too long ago talking about the same thing, and what Joe was saying. It was saying the same thing, is that with the star rotations is one singular unified rotation, and then as you move past the equator, there's that parabolic reflection of the same unified rotation, and that equator is the breaking point in your perspective, which is what actually determines if you're going to see a clockwise or a counterclockwise motion. That's totally where I'm on board with. It totally resonates. And he said it a little bit different, but he was basically saying the same thing like what I was saying in my video and what Joe was saying. As soon as you go past that equator, it's going to be a parabolic reflection of the same rotation based on your altitude and your latitude on the Earth, on where your position is.
Oh yeah, so I'm gonna be sharing your video is next. So guys, get prepared, because yeah, you need to put in some attention, right? A bit, because so I'm gonna just put it more ahead.
Why did he do that with his hand? Was that for a chip? Did somebody say it was a chip?
Yeah, it's most likely chipped.
Oh man,
projecting the exact same appearance.
Yeah, go ahead, Gene.
No, I was asking about the video with the handle, and he hit the top of his hand on the handle.
It sure looks convenient, right?
Real weird.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one I did recently.
Oh yeah, get prepared, guys. All right.
Now, the Earth is composed into a dualistic divide that yields distinct geographical territories and also reveals dual celestial cycles that varies based on an observer's location. While the rotation of the stellar movements remains constant, the perceived direction of their motion is shaped by the observer's vantage point in either the north or the south part of the world. Now, this phenomena gives rise to an apparent dual rotation, whereby the stars seem to move in opposite directions depending on whether someone is situated in the northern or the southern part of the world. The tropical gap is the key, and the equatorial line is the divide. In the northern part of the world, the stars appear to revolve counterclockwise around Polaris, the pole star, resulting in a singular rotational path. The celestial motions exhibits a predictable pattern. They rise in the east and set in the west, reinforcing the part of the world's distinct celestial mechanics for the north. And conversely, in the southern part of the world, stellar movements mirror those of the northern part of the world, appearing inverted and expanded in a clockwise motion around Sigma Octantis. So Sigma Octantis is just a parabolic reflection of the pole star all around the southern part of the world, south of the equator line. These stars drift continuously westward while tracing clockwise circular paths and setting in the east for the south, creating a dual rotational effect that is distinct from that of the northern part of the world, further underscoring the parabolic mirror reversal. This parabolic reflection demonstrates that the celestial mechanics of each part of the world are not only mirrored, but they are.
I think there's a lot of ancient symbols showing these, how the mechanism works, right? This is amazing. Yeah.
Are also
Yep.
That video in the bottom right corner there, I believe is my video, but a friend of mine in New Zealand actually put that together for me.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, where it shows those zones, and it shows if we could move the observers far enough south, you would see 24-hour sun in each one of those zones relative to its position.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think you were saying in relation.
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. My bad.
No, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was I wanted to add on to what Joe was saying, is like how he's saying it just depends on all of those southern locations south of the equator line. They're going to see the same thing, but they're all going to get their own slice, like, because every 24 hours you're going to see the same stars again. But it just depends on what zodiac the sun is on, where the sun is at, because if the sun is in a certain constellation on the ecliptic, it's going to obscure those constellations. So it's all dependent on what time of the year it is and where your geographical location is, like how Joe was saying. But yeah, go ahead.
Right. And this is the model. This is the sky map. If we are speaking about the central disk, that which we use as television, and there are many sites which show us the central sky with Polaris in the middle, that's the central part of the wheel, right? That's how star map. They use the star map to keep the timing, timekeeping. So the rest of the wheels together is explaining the outer phenomena that we all are trying to analyze, right? Amazing. Let's continue.
A couple of frames back, too, he had one of his videos, he had that Firmament Trackers app below it.
Yep, on the first part, yep.
Yeah, that show, and what he's showing there is all the different observers inside the realm. That's very, very cool. I can't wait.
A lot of people have trouble understanding it. Like on my TikTok, people are wanting me to go further in depth into it, and I'm trying to like lay out. It's like they're like, I don't understand it, and I'm like, I'm trying to give you a God's eye view of looking at it, because everyone is so conformed to their perspective, to what they see, and it's like when you look at it from a zoomed out view, you're getting all those perspectives in one, and it's hard to explain that to people.
It is.
Yeah, Joel, this is also, you have to take in consideration as how you can add this gear system, or the way it's projecting, because it's all analog. So how can be this used in a way to do the same thing on the dome, to have those reflections going in opposite, right?
Exactly.
So we continue, yeah.
Okay. To one another. Observers in each part of the world therefore perceive their own slice of the sky's cyclical motion, but yet the singular unified star motion still creates an optical illusion of dual rotations due to the shifts in perspective and your vantage point on the Earth. This mirrored effect between different parts of the world is a striking testament to how a single rotational source can produce divergent perceptions of that movement. That all depends upon the observer's specific geographical location. For example, let's consider this is a real analog device right there. This is no CGI or like green screen stuff. It's like literally showing an analog device which could really do real observation and predictions, very similar to Antikythera mechanism. But this is explaining the more complex that it could be happening with optical with southern part of the world, right?
Yeah, that's one really cool thing about this Firmament Trackers app that Steve Alonso has done. Is we can make predictions with this thing. Like we can predict the angle of elevation throughout the entire day of the 24-hour sun before they go down there. But yeah, I mean, he's doing a great job with all this, and I love this content. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Consider for a moment that there are people positioned along the same meridian but at different latitudes. One person is right here in the south, the other person is right here in the north along the same meridian line. The person in the northern part of the world and the other in the southern part of the world, those two people will observe solar noon simultaneously at the same time, despite their respective distances from the equator. And this simultaneity occurs because of the sun's consistent trajectory.
This is also the best part, like how from different perspective the people can see and look three-dimensional. This is also amazing. The same wheels showing night, day, and how it could be moving. Awesome. Yeah.
So are we suggesting that past the ecliptic, that the southern stars are a reflection of the northern stars?
I personally don't really make that claim. I think that the dome itself is just causing that anti-rotation. However, I don't rule that out. I think they could be a reflection, but like with astrophotography, in different galaxies and just different celestial objects that we can photograph beyond the equator in the south and above the equator in the north. So that tells me that it's not really a reflection. It's just the way the light is being manipulated by the dome itself. Well, the dome and our perspective. So we have the dome, the layers of the Atmos inside of that dome, and then we have our azimuthal personal grid view our eyes give us, which all fits this analog device that he's done. I think that's freaking amazing.
Did you make this? Is it psychedelic?
Yeah, so I got I'm using a couple of different images here. I got the first like the gear images. I got those from Banjo, and then the image down there that you see on the bottom, I got that from Steven. And then the one that's in the middle right now, I got that from Lindsay. So I kind of just gathered all them together and then wrote like my script and kind of tried to lay it out and explain it as best as I could, but to put it in layman terms for people to understand. Because like how Joe was saying, like I'm showing in the middle there, I'm showing like the top, it's a two-dimensional view, but what we see is like a three-dimensional perspective of that two-dimensional view right there over top. So it's like I'm trying to like show that overhead view and then like also explain that we see things in 3 dimension, like it rises up above us and then it moves over past us, you know.
I just put it together a few minutes ago that I had found you on TikTok a while ago, and I have you on the app on the featured artist page.
Cool.
I was like, wait a minute, I know this voice. I know this. So you got great content.
Thanks again, Dave. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you inspire me a lot, bro.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, and also the yellow lines, when it like all unite together in a point, that could be that looks like a 3-dimensional object. The sun would be seen by all the different people, right? Looks like.
Yeah, so right here, I'll probably, when you finish continuing the video, this is what I was trying to explain was like, so when it's noon for us in the north, if there's someone in the south on the same meridian line, it's going to be noon for them exactly as it moves longitudinally. And then two people at two other same meridian lines, they're going to experience solar noon at the same time as well.
Longitudinal lines? Is that what you mean?
Or yeah, along that same line.
Okay.
So like when in the video here, like you see how this is Lindsay's image here. When those 2 yellow bars line up, that's solar noon for someone in the south and the north, and then it moves away, and then it's solar noon for someone else on that other latitude right there. So as it moves along the firmament, multiple people are going to experience solar noon at the same time. But I'm trying to show all the different perspectives. You know,
is the black and white day and night? Because that's not making sense to me.
Yeah, the black and white's day and night.
That's what I think it was.
But right where those two lines are lined up, that's like, I don't understand that it's night, but it's solar noon.
I think the black is daytime.
Okay.
The yellow bar would be representing the sun, and then the white side would be nighttime.
Okay.
Across the meridian lines, establishing a universal point of culmination at noon, regardless of their latitude on that same line. So therefore, when the sun reaches its zenith for one observer in the south, it concurrently attains the same peak position for all other observers located along the same meridian line in the northern part of the world. This occurrence underscores the shared temporal experience of solar noon across parts of the world in the north and the south along the aligned longitudinal coordinates. So wherever you are at in the northern part of the world, north of the equator, when the sun reaches noon for you, you know that somebody that is south of the equator line looking at the sun at the same time you are is also experiencing solar noon. Now, this mirroring phenomena also takes place over the course of the year for the analemma cycle. In this dual observational framework, we encounter the intriguing phenomena of two distinctly oriented analemmas. In the northern part of the world, observers must orient their view southward to perceive the analemma of the sun, while in the southern part of the world, the phenomena requires people to look northward to observe that same mirrored image, the mirrored.
This is awesome stuff. This is the thing, right?
I'll say one thing that's really cool is like his little analog model that he did. Just looking at it, you can see that Star of David pattern that the other guy was explaining, talking about the.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's the power of the sun. Yeah.
Yeah, I love your content, man. It's good stuff, and the way you explain things is, to me, is very straightforward and just makes sense.
I put a lot of time into it, man. Like I spend days writing before I even think about recording, and I got to gather, like I have an image in my head and I'm like, okay, I need to gather this and say this.
I was hoping that you weren't just doing that off the top of your head, because it made me feel really bad.
Yeah, people need to follow Psychedelic also on TikTok, and everybody who's on this panel
you
here.
can find him, for those of you that forget his name, he's in the app on the star button, which is featured content providers. He's the first guy on there.
I think a lot of glow proponents don't realize the kind of work that goes into stuff. They think that we are just making this stuff up, like
Really?
For real.